So I heard that you thought these elective trails just weren't tough enough.
Well, these are the 5 hardest elective trails on the terrifying 25. If you're new to hiking in New Hampshire, the Terrifying 25 is one of the newer hiking lists
created by Trish, Alex, and Sage Hare for tackling the White Mountains of New Hampshire. The list specifically focuses on White Mountain hiking trails that have slides, rock scrambles, boulder caves, or even rickety ladders.
Basically anything to terrify you while hiking.
The list includes 20 required trails and then 5 elective trails from a greater list of 14 trails for a total of 34 possible hikes. Now, the 14 elective trails are typically easier than the 20 hikes on the main list. But what if you're a veteran hiker and want maximum difficulty?
So today I'm highlighting the 5 absolute hardest and scariest Terrifying 25 elective trails.
We're starting off with the easiest hardest trail. The easiest hardest trail with the Willey Range Trail, located on Mount Willey and Mount Field near Crawford Notch, New Hampshire in the White Mountain National Forest. The trail you'll follow is an out and back trail that is around 9.8 miles total. Additionally, the summit of Mount Willey is 4,285 feet tall and Mount Field is 4,340 feet tall, and both are summits on the New Hampshire 48 4,000 footer hiking list. Now I hear some of you already objecting through the screen. Is this trail really one of the hardest electives, Adam? And I'm saying technically yes when you look at the trail in its entirety. First, obviously you have the terrifying ladders that are the star of the show. And there is not 1 ladder, or 2, or 3 to tackle, but like 11 ladders to conquer all in a row.
It just keeps going. So many more ladders.
With all the ladder transfers to boot, and of course there are some missing ladder rungs to spice things up as well. Plus overall, I'd say that the climb up to the Mount Willey summit, both before the ladders but definitely after those ladders, is still rather steep and rough as it is. I mean, it is a 4,000 footer after all. And lastly, the big contributing factor that I'd say adds to the trail's difficulty is simply how long it is. You can't just ascend the ladders and then take in that amazing view from the Mount Willey viewpoint and call it a day. No, you have to go crush that entire ridge line as well. That's another full 2 miles of rather annoying up and down ridge line hiking past those ladders to fully earn credit for this trail per the Terrifying 25 rules, making for a total of around 8.5 miles of hiking out and back. I mean, or you could hike the additional 2 miles down the Avalon Trail and then walk the road back to where you started. But where is the fun in that? So it's the combination of those ladder scrambles, how steep the trail is, and then how long that ridgeline hike is that makes this trail earn its spot here where it is on the list. At number 2, we have the Blueberry Ledge Trail, located on Mount Whiteface and near Sandwich, New Hampshire in the White Mountain National Forest. The trail you'll follow is an out and back trail that is around 8 miles total. Additionally, the summit of Mount Whiteface is 4,020 feet tall and is also a summit on the New Hampshire 48 4,000 footer hiking list. Oh man, this trail was an easy inclusion on this list. I mean, for crying out loud, it was so hard I didn't even summit the mountain but had to turn back in defeat the very first time that I tried to hike it. Okay, now maybe was that mostly because I didn't have snowshoes the day that I was hiking it and that I was dilly-dallying filming too many marshmallow trees? Sure, maybe that's the case, but those blueberry ledges are also quite steep and tricky in the best of weather conditions, and having them coated in a complete layer of ice and snow made them even more treacherous. But yes, this trail earns its difficulty spot purely on the technical difficulty of those blueberry ledges. I mean, the trail is not all that long or particularly steep in general and shouldn't really give you many issues until the freaking light rock climbing begins. At those blueberry ledges, you have some sections where there is some steep rock scrambling, where I was personally happy to have such nice long arms and legs to help me get over those rocks. Then several instances of large slopes and smooth rocks you had to slowly ascend, and then other completely different sections with skinny ledges and cracks that you had to shimmy along. And then lastly, of course, the cool viewpoints right next to the huge drop-off cliffs that gave me quite a bit of anxiety. Now there's one particular rock incline that I want to highlight that combos directly into a ledge shimmy that I found quite tricky and difficult. And I think anyone who has hiked this trail immediately knows which spot I'm talking about. I think it was the hardest single spot to climb up and especially to descend on my way back down. It just has a lot all at once. You're already on precarious footing as you're making your way up the incline, and then finding the amount of leverage to pull yourself up onto that ledge is just a little difficult, and it is nice if you have a second pair of hands to help you. So in the end, it's how technical and difficult I found those blueberry ledges were to scramble over that earned this trail its spot as one of the hardest, terrifying 25 elective trails. At number 3, we have the Beaver Brook Trail, located on Mount Moosilauke and near North Woodstock, New Hampshire in the White Mountain National Forest. The trail you'll follow is an out and back trail that is around 6.5 miles total. Additionally, the summit of Mount Moosilauke is 4,802 feet tall and is also a summit on the New Hampshire 48 4,000 footer hiking list. Ah yes, my good friend, the Beaver Brook Trail, one of the single steepest trails in the White Mountains and on the Appalachian Trail. Over 1,700 feet of elevation gain in less than 1 mile of trail. Clearly, this is the steepest trail we've encountered on the list so far. And to combo with this overall level of steepness is that there are quite a few technical elements and contributing factors to the trail's difficulty. First off is that you're basically hiking next to the Beaver Brook and its many waterfalls almost the entire ascent. While this does make the trail super scenic and way more interesting than the average trail, it also means that the trail does tend to be a bit more damp and slippery. Much of the trail and rocks as you climb are kept in a continuous state of wetness from the mist coming off of those waterfalls. And then secondly, there are a few rather fun but challenging technical elements scattered about the trail. These would include several wooden staircases mounted directly to the rock faces, as well as some sections requiring iron rungs and handholds. Now I found all of these elements super fun and the perfect level of challenge during the hike, but they could prove to be a bigger obstacle for newer hikers. Following this very hard, steep climb up the mountain, the trail luckily flattens out and rewards you with a rather pleasant hike along the ridgeline to the summit. And that summit is one of my absolute favorites with its many expansive views and how uniquely it looks like a grassy rolling hill. So in summary, it's how damp and slippery this trail can get in combination with the technical elements you will encounter along the trail, and then mostly due to how freaking unbelievably steep this trail can get, that easily earned the Beaver Brook Trail its spot here as one of the hardest trails on the Elective Terrifying 25 list. At number 4, we have the Castle Ravine Trail, located on Mount Jefferson and near Randolph, New Hampshire in the presidential range of the White Mountain National Forest. The trail you'll follow is a loop trail that is around 10 miles total. Additionally, the summit of Mount Jefferson is 5,712 feet tall and is also a summit on the New Hampshire 48 4,000 footer hiking list. Wow, I'm already getting horrific flashbacks to this trail just thinking about it. I'm clearly remembering how out of all of the elective trails I had tackled, this one was the one that could have been a candidate to graduate to the main terrifying list. This was all because of 3 simple words: loose, talus, field. Oh, and like a freaking crap ton of annoying stream crossings as well. But that loose talus field may be one of my least favorite things to hike on. It was basically ascending hundreds of feet up a steep incline, not on rough trail, but basically on top of a pile of loose rocks. Emphasis on the loose aspect. I kept feeling the rocks shift under my weight, making it all the more terrifying and greatly slowing down my hiking speed. This was because I had to make sure I had solid hand and footholds the entire time. My only saving grace hiking the trail that day was that it was so cloudy I could not actually see the huge steep drop off behind me as I was ascending that trail. This would greatly add to the terrifyingness and how unnerving this trail would be. The second difficult factor for this trail is the absolute stupid number of stream crossings. I think I counted 15 total on the way up the trail, of which 9 I consider to be large and significant crossings that were basically guaranteed to get you wet no matter what. but it really started to drive me crazy after a while, and I honestly think that the trail was partially made to zigzag across that brook on purpose more than it needed to, just to mess with and annoy hikers. On a serious note, with so many stream crossings, it would be wise to pay attention to the weather when hiking this trail, because that could greatly affect the height of the stream and how difficult the trail will be. So in summary, it's because of how terrible that steep, loose talus field was near the top of the trail, and then the crazy number of stream crossings near the bottom of the trail, that ranks the Castle Ravine Trail as the second hardest trail on the Elective Terrifying 25 list. And for our final and hardest elective trail, we have the Wildcat Ridge Trail, located on Wildcat Mountain and near Jackson, New Hampshire in the White Mountain National Forest. The trail you'll follow is an out and back trail that is around 8.5 miles total. Additionally, the Wildcat D Peak is 4,050 feet tall and the Wildcat A Peak is 4,422 feet tall. And both summits are on the New Hampshire 48 4,000 footer hiking list. Boy, do I remember this trail. I mean, it just had the freaking terrifying trifecta. We're talking multiple extreme technical elements. A stream crossing? You got it. And it's one of the swiftest flowing streams you'd have to cross in all of the White Mountains. Precarious staircases? Why have one when you can get two? And then you can't decide if you want your rock scrambling to be steep with many precarious rocks or one big steep stone slab with a single crack. Don't worry, you'll get to do both. And then we're also talking raw steepness. This trail is notorious for being the steepest single mile on the entire 2,000 plus mile Appalachian Trail. You ascend 2,000 feet in 1.5 miles, with 1,000 of those feet occurring in 1/2 mile section. And then the last part of the trifecta is the freaking length, because as we all know, you must hike the entire trail to earn credit for the Terrifying 25. In this case, this would of course include the terrifyingly steep ascent to the Wildcat D summit, but then you need to also tackle 2 miles of ridgeline hiking over to Wildcat A as well. And that ridgeline is just so annoyingly not flat at all. You're gonna bank another 700 feet of up and down elevation gain as you hike along it. And now here at the amazing summit viewpoint, many of you may think you're done. Wrong. To complete this trail, you have to descend another 1,000 feet to the Carter Notch. I mean, the trail is literally so long and strenuous, I never even completed the whole trail the day that I hiked it. But shh, that will be our little secret. Don't tell Trish, Alex, and Sage. But luckily, I've already completed all the other elective Terrifying 25 trails, so this doesn't really affect me. But if you do choose to hike the Wildcat Ridge Trail, make sure you hike that entire trail and don't skimp out like I did. So in summary, it's the combination of how difficult those crazy technical elements are, how unbelievably steep this trail is, and then the overall length of this trail that totally earned the Wildcat Ridge Trail its spot here as the hardest elective trail on the Terrifying 25 list.
But hey, that's just my opinion. Now go get hiking.